Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I've decided to do a number of short videos in which I explain various aspects of the political situation in Zimbabwe. The first lot of these videos will be based on a quotation which I have often used in this program, quoting from David Coltart's book. And this is the book, which I think that quotation encapsulates the problems that we have in Zimbabwe. And so I'll be picking sections of that quotation and expanding on it. So the first section I'm going to pick on is the one highlighted in red. But I'll read the whole quotation for the sake of completeness. The worst aspect to me about the failure to agree a coalition was that both MDCs could not do the obvious, withdraw from the 2013 elections, it should be. The electoral process was so flawed, so illegal, that the only logical step was to withdraw. Many people have often asked, where is the evidence that the electoral process was flawed, so illegal, the logical step was to withdraw? Well, I would like to answer that question by pointing out just a few important aspects in that argument. I'll just concentrate on 4 aspects in this particular instance. The number one argument is that no reforms were implemented during the GNU, and SADC leaders warned against participating in these elections without reforms. What do I mean by that? Well, I will cover in later videos what the reforms were and why the 2008 to 2013 GNU was the golden opportunity to implement those reforms. But for the sake of this video, the important thing to remember there is that we already knew from the 2008 elections that Zimbabwe, Zanu PF, rigged elections, blatantly rigged the elections in 2008. And they were forced to go into the GNU, and the primary purpose of the GNU was to implement the reforms. And at the end of the GNU in 2013, not even one token reform was implemented. And this is why SADC said you shouldn't go into 2013 elections since no meaningful reforms have been implemented. And Morgan Tsvangirai and company insisted in participating in those flawed elections. That is one of the problems we had. But to come back to the 2013 elections themselves, what flaws and illegalities occurred? Well, in his book, David Coltart mentioned a number of them. One of the most obvious one was that we did not have a verified voters roll. The voter registration that year was so chaotic. It was laughable. Instead of ZEC registering potential voters, ZEC clearly was biased in the sense that you would find that there are very few voter registration centers in urban centers where the opposition had their supporters. And yet in the rural areas, there'll be 10 times as many. And then in the urban centers, ZEC would come up with one excuse after another to deny the people the opportunity to register to vote. For instance, they would demand that you should have your ID, national ID, which is normal. And then you've got to have proof of address of where you live. And this must come in the form of a utility bill or a telephone bill. If you are a tenant, the telephone bill or water bill do not come in your name. In fact, you do not get a water bill. So they'll put all those things, and the person who is determined to register to vote has got to jump all those loopholes to get to be registered. And not only that, even if you jump all those loopholes, you found that at the end of the day, when the voters' roll came out, your name was still not on the voters' roll. I can talk from my own personal experience. In 1995, I tried to get 9 different people to register to vote, including my mother. They managed to register, and I saw the voter registration slips with my own eyes, including myself. But when the voters' roll came out, only my mother was on the voters' roll. Everybody else, for an unexplainable reason, our names were not on it. So these are some of the realities that happened. And when it comes to voting in 2013, it was quite common to see people who were burst in to vote. And there is a video clip of Tendai Biti complaining about that. So there's no doubt that the electoral process was flawed. The third point I want to mention quickly is, what did the MDC leaders do past 2013 election? Well, in 2014, Morgan Tsvangirai and his MDC-T party had their Congress, and they made a Congress resolution that they will not participate in future elections without first implementing the reforms. Other opposition parties were to follow tune without ever having a Congress and coming up with a Congress resolution. The interesting thing about it is, hardly 2 years down the line, MDC made a decision that they were going to participate in the 2018 elections even if no reforms had been implemented. They promised the people that they will get Zanu PF to implement the reforms, which of course they never did. And they participated in 2018 with not even one token reform implemented, and then again in 2018. In fact, by 2018, the opposition had come up with a new tune. They argued that they could win rigged elections because they've devised strategies of winning rigged elections. So now they were participating in flawed elections, knowing fully well that they are flawed, knowing fully well that by participating, they'll be giving Zanu PF legitimacy. But that is another aspect of the quotation I gave you at the beginning, and we will deal with it in detail at a later date. So in this regard, in conclusion, there can be no doubt that the voter, the 2013 elections were flawed. So flawed, the only logical thing to have done was to stop participating in those flawed elections. But MDC guys participated regardless. And the reason for it is because of what I said at the beginning of the quotation. The worst aspect for me about the failure to agree a coalition was that both MDCs could not now do the obvious, withdraw from the 2013 elections. But again, that aspect of it will go into detail in later versions. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.